You're listening to Bold Calling, a podcast presented by Orum, where every episode we're bringing on the biggest and brightest minds in the tech and sales industries for a discussion about their biggest challenges and the unique ways they're working to solve them. I'm your host, Adam Sockel, and today I'm joined by Joe Fontana, North American Sales Director for BuyerForesight. Joe, thank you so much for joining me today.
Appreciate it. You said something about the biggest and brightest. They're up next?
Yeah, what I'm doing, I'm keeping people guessing. I figured they'd be like, oh, wow, Joe's on here.
Yeah, Joe's here.
You're warming up the crowd, yeah.
Warming up the crowd.
It's like when a stand-up comedian comes on, you got to bring in that first guy, right?
That's me.
So, Joe, tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into the sales space, and then sort of just walk me through your career into present day. Feel free to start as way back as you want.
No, you said we only have an hour, so I can't start that far back. I turned 48 this year. I led my first sales team as a 19-year-old. And I was thrown into the fire. I was a Wall Street kid. I was good at what I did. And early on realized I had a knack for selling and a knack for leading sales teams. Every team I led from the age of 19 to 21 is an absolute dumpster fire. I think I was too young to be the leader that those guys needed. And it's tough when you're a 19-year-old trying to give sales advice to a guy who's been doing it since the 60s. And this is back in the 90s. But having learned from those horrible, horrible mistakes, I turned my career into a series of consultancies where I built out sales works for companies, big and small, built out call centers for Apple, helped series of car dealerships get the nuances of selling cars down. And I did that for the better part of 15 years. Decided one day that I was young enough to retire. I was a stay-at-home dad for a few years, up until the day my wife had come to me and said, "You got the day to yourself. I'll take the baby. Go do your thing." So I opened up a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue, took out a pre-embargo Cuban cigar, and about 45 minutes later realized I was still knee-deep in Sesame Street. Ernie Burton it. I got an Ernie impression that'll beat the best of them. So I went back into the world and did a lot of consulting. Same thing I'm doing now. Come into my organization, sell a product, figure out how to scale it, and just help with crossing T's and dotting I's when it comes to putting together a sales team that's sustainable.
I love it. There's just so much I want to ask. I'll stay away from Sesame Street jokes for now. We'll probably come back to them. But having so much experience, one of the things I have realized, I'm in marketing. I've been doing content marketing for a little over 15 years. But the first 10 of those years were all with one organization. And loved it. It was great, but I feel like I have learned more over my last two roles over the last 3 years than I did at that first organization because I was connected with so many different types of people. And I want to ask, how has your ability and your opportunity to consult with so many different places, how has that helped you along the way understand how to better establish a sales team and know what they need? I guess how are you picking and choosing what pieces of information you've gained along the way to help make you better at your job now?
I think it just comes from a collection of best practices you've seen and dumpster fires. And probably more in the dumpster fire area. You've seen all the things that have gone wrong. I have forgotten more about dumpster fire sales organizations than some people will ever learn. And God bless them for it. But it is that knowledge, that hands-on experience of not only from what you've seen, knowing it's not going to work, but actually going out and testing it. So when I say to a sales team, that method's going to die on the table, I know it's died on the table because I'm the guy that had to jump start it and give it the defibrillator and do everything in my power to try to make it to work because there's a contractor that's been calling me for the last hour and a half and it's still 3:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Do you find, because of the breadth of the types of sales teams you've created, do you find that there are things that you're using for every single sales team, like tactics and tips, no matter if it's, like you said, a call center or people selling cars? Okay, so can you walk me through what those are?
So, so the one constant that there always has to be, at least for me, is if I'm going to build your team out, I'm selling it first. Understanding the language that marketing's using to get me in front of the ideal prospect, and how aligned am I with my marketing cohort to ensure that we are in lockstep with one another. Everybody expects scaling to be this big, massive thing. Typically, the best scaling is 1-2 men at a time. So what I've seen work is, and mind you, I come into organizations where sales is broken and they know it's broken. So rather than come in and look at the one-legged, man and tell him to walk into a room and start stomping balloons, I'm just going to call it dead on the table. We need to rebuild. So yeah, I want you to talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. Walk me through your product, walk me through your value prop, walk me through your ICP. Then I need your marketer to talk to me like I'm a 6-year-old. And from there, just leave me alone. Let me sell the product. Let me figure out what works, what doesn't. There'll be enough data in your CRM or over the course of the deals that you've closed recently to let me know that the pieces that I might be able to pull from them. But that's only after I've started running into potential brick walls, which doesn't happen after this amount of time. To sell a product, it's all the universal same things of knowing your audience, knowing your product, the messaging that's challenge focused. From there, it's just a matter of how do you teach somebody to do it and teach them to teach others to do it.
I got to be honest, I love hearing someone with as much sales experience as you have talk about that importance of connecting with marketing early on, not just because I'm a marketer. I know you're not just telling me that because I'm a marketer hosting a podcast, but I do think there is this common misconception of sales and marketing being at each other's throats and not understanding what a real lead looks like, and no one's helping one another. But hearing you say, when I come into an organization, one of the first people I want to learn from, and it sounds like one of the reasons I'm guessing you're so successful, the little bit we've talked, is just you seem to obviously have the utmost confidence in your abilities, but when it sounds like when you're first starting with a new team, removing that pride that you might have and being okay, like you said, talk to me like I'm 5, talk to me like I'm 6, and explain to me this process. So what does that initial conversation look like for you when you're connected with marketing and saying I want to do this the best we can. We know our stuff is broken, but I want to get this right. What does that conversation with the marketing leadership look like for you?
Again, I try to keep it simple. And typically they start out, "Hi, I'm Joe. Talk to me like I'm 5 until I tell you to stop talking to me like I'm 5. Walk me through everything you're doing." And I say that not necessarily for their sake, but also for mine. You have to keep your ego at the door when you're coming in and you have to build a sales org out. You may think you're coming in with all of these skills and all of this experience, but a day in the trenches can kick you in the short and curlies before you even know it. So rather than walk around grunting like that, I just rather get all of the things out of the way early, because that's where I'll determine whether or not they're right or wrong. Because often marketing, especially in a small org, works at the privilege of the president, like they say. So the knowledge that they have around the product, what it does, how it serves, the challenges, all that fun stuff may be based on their CEO talking out of their ass because their mouth doesn't know any better. And that's why you have to have these conversations with marketing first. Are they targeting the right people? Do they understand this product? Do they understand the way that it ticks? I work with marketers every day at some of the largest B2B brands. I put them in front of their top prospects. 7 out of 10 know their client. What scares me are the 3 that don't. And then they wonder why they can't have that marriage with sales that they need to have. So you need to get into the trenches and understand from them, what does my buyer look like? Because I'm going to dance to the beat of their drum when I go out and I start selling, because it's going to be based on their messaging, based on the challenges that they're solving for, based on the ICP that they tell me to target. Because I've got to start somewhere. I don't know it myself. And if I do know it and I'm having this conversation, I can tell whether or not they're right or wrong. Do I have an asset that's actually going to help me in the future? Or is this person going to be as useless as a blind chauffeur on Grand Prix?
Not to belabor this point. I just love it so much because the fact it can be the same thing from a marketing standpoint too. I do all this research. I'm always seeing what people are saying from a 50,000 foot view. And I can go to our marketing, or I can go to our sales leaders and say, by and large, I am seeing X, Y, and Z thing on LinkedIn, on across marketing, surveys and all this stuff. And they can say, that's wonderful. I've had 3 conversations with enterprise sales leaders this week, and we need to tweak it to say X, Y, and Z because it's more nuanced and more specific. And I love that ability of like kind of the going back and forth. And I just, like I said, I think you just have such a good attitude towards it. And I can see how that's driving success. And you strike me as a person who you're very secure in the things that you're doing and you know how to succeed. But the purpose of this first season of this podcast is to kind of get to like the things that are stressing you out. So I want to know, what is the thing, Joe, that's kind of keeping you up at night from a work standpoint? Like, are there aspects of the job that you're still banging your head against the wall trying to figure out?
It's sales and marketing alignment, believe it or not. So my clients are marketers like you. I put your sales team in front of prospects that are a 100% match to the ICP. They're not there because of a sales element. They're there to learn. And that inherently turns a sales team off. And it boggles at my mind that it does. Because at the end of the day, these marketers are delivering exactly what a sales team needs. Now, if they're not defining to the marketers what they're looking for in the first place, then shame on them. For as many marketers that I sit and talk to about events, 99 out of 100 are like, you guys are putting on something awesome. This is absolutely fabulous. If I had that conversation with their sales counterparts, and even with the provenance that I bring to the table as a sales leader, you would think I was introducing apes to oxygen. Me no know what event is. Talk to me. I don't understand. What's an ICP? What's my TAL? And I think to myself, 20 marketers are going to lose their job because your head is so far up your ass, you can pick your own teeth from the back of your mouth. Yeah, I got a lot of one-liners like that, so I apologize if some are not socially acceptable. I also have phone calls where I wear shirts like this, so... Because it does. I hurt for these marketers because I know when you do it right. I mean, there's companies where I'm personally responsible. My team is not me. The team that does the actual work, God bless their souls, is personally responsible for 70% of somebody's pipeline and 40% of their revenue. So when I hear, I posted something the other day about it where I met with the sales team on behalf of my marketing client, and they were putting up brick wall after objection, after a misunderstanding. And I'm like, no one of you guys can't close deals. You can't even talk to each other. You have no idea how to develop a relationship with somebody that sits 5 feet away from you. How could you be expected to develop a relationship with a total stranger, even if I put them in front of you and they're excited about the chocolate torte that you two are sharing?
So thinking about these, really high quality events that you're helping put on with these, with, like you said, the exact ICP that an organization, a marketing team, and then eventually the seller is trying to get in front of, especially when it comes to these types of events, these executive dinners with enterprise people, like the process to bringing them on board can be very long. They can be, you've got to build awareness. You got to know where they're at from an intent standpoint. You got to eventually get them at the right moment in the right buying cycle. And you mentioned the thing that is constantly stressing you out is that sales and marketing alignment, beyond just maintaining conversation, like to dig a little bit deeper, like how are you helping these two teams come together and ultimately say, like, we brought the horse to water, now it's time to drink? Like, how are you getting the salespeople to take action and actually get to the finish line?
So for the marketers that get it, I don't need to bring the sales guys in because they're drinking the juice. They're happy to see me like, oh, you're the guy that helped her out? Thanks. The last guy, couldn't spell it if you handed him the I and tattooed the T on his forehead. So thank you for getting it. The sales teams where they don't quite get it, I've got a couple of opportunities for them to see for themselves what I'm doing and the how behind it. So my events are typically dinners or virtual tastings. I prospect the same way I would for my clients. I host an event focused on a challenge that resonates with my ICP, event marketers, field marketers, ABM, demand gen, so on and so forth. You, a few times, I'm sure, by email have been barraged by my team. But but they're there for a challenge and a conversation. And because there's no pitch, there's no slide deck, there's no presentation, there's no usher shutting the door and walking them through the benefits of timeshares in Florida, and it's just a conversation where you get the opportunity to earn the right to pitch them, then they're on board once they see that it is exactly what they need to get these deals closed. Because they're going to walk away with intel and an understanding of them as people. And you're never going to get that on a disco. You're never going to find it on a demo. And you can have all of the automated tools out there to help you move something through a pipeline or get the most out of every lead you can. But you can't put a price on human interaction and authenticity, because that's all a sale is. It's a series of conversations between somebody who has a problem and somebody who can solve it.
I love that. We preach that exact same thing here at Orum, all about human-centric selling and conversations. And I guess I'm curious, one of the things I'm working on a playbook right now about like the ABM and intent selling. Yeah, it's lots of interviews. But I want to ask you, like, one of the things I keep thinking about is exactly what you said. Like, people enjoy executive dinners that are done properly in those moments because we're not trying to sell you that timeshare. We're not saying like, you can't go enjoy that beach until you sign up for this. Every 2 weeks, you're going to come down to the Keys. What I'm curious about is in my mind, there is a moment where you go from like, okay, we've given you the information. We've talked to you about the benefits, and like, we've had this nice casual conversation. We've created this relationship. At a certain point, are you expecting the salespeople to be like, okay, now is time for that pitch? Or are you relying on the fact that eventually these people who learn about what you have to offer will technically become a quote unquote inbound?
So little column A, little column B. So yeah, there is a moment. There's that moment where you're having a chat with them. That rapport is there. All engines are, firing. Hey, Adam, what are your thoughts on us just having a conversation on Tuesday? I'd love to learn a little bit more. In the meanwhile, tell me about your kid and his baseball team again. Thursday at 5 works great. But it's natural. It's authentic.
Do you think that is something sellers can learn? I mean, obviously, like, I'm the son of a salesman. My brother is better at it than I am, but like, I feel like it's innately hearing it around
you're
the
in marketing,
table.
so you can't say you're no good at sales. That line falls flat.
I know, but I guess what I was going to say is like, I've seen my brother casually sell to people because it's like innately it's in his blood. Yeah. Do you think that is something like, because obviously we talk about here at Orum, we talk about cold calls and we talk about how many at bats you need to get good at it. And like, that's one of the big benefits. How do you get the sellers that you're working with more quote unquote at bats in those moments where you're having conversations with high impact, high value targets at these events and things like that? How do you?
That's a great question. So I'm a big believer in coaching through the simple, stupid stuff like this, coaching through, because if you're a seller in this space, in this day and age, I have to assume you still come to the table with charisma and you're not expecting on AI to do all of the lifting. Although from the people that just slide into my DMs or I have an open book appointment on my LinkedIn, a bit leaves to be desired. You've laughed at a few of those posts yourself, and deservedly so. That being said, because I know that the new salesperson, this new tech-heavy salesperson might be lacking that human element, we need to have conversations around how to be charismatic, even though you are as flat as a board. So it's, don't talk about your product, talk about yourself. These are not your customers. These are 4 of your friends. You're at a dinner. None of you should afford on a day otherwise. What are you talking about? These are people you haven't seen in forever. Just what are you going to do to have a conversation? How about this, guys? What's your name? Where are you from? Hi, my name's Joe. Start there. If you don't know what to ask, tell me more. Listen to them talk. Again, these are seasoned salespeople. Very rarely am I walking around with, a dipstick that is new to the game. These are big investments, so you have prime players. There's a subject matter expert in the room. This is not somebody who's, Johnny come lately. You're going to have seasoned sales reps that at the very least know how to have a conversation with somebody, even though they may be terrified to talk about product. So I remove that from the equation. Nobody wants to talk about your product. They're not there for your brand. They're not there for my brand. They're not there for the steak dinner. They're there because this topic, these 3 sentences, keeps them up at 2:00 in the morning. Talk to that.
I love that. That's so good. That's
so
such a
talk to that
good.
and talk just to that. And at some point, you're going to connect with somebody. Just give you that twinkle in the eye moment where you're no longer total strangers. And instead of a pillar of sand, there's a stone. And that stone is the foundation of your relationship. And if you're a salesman who's worth their weight in hay, you got to always be closing. And by that, I mean, close on your call to actions. Ask for that order. That order is a meeting. Maybe that order is, let me walk you to your car. Really happy you enjoyed yourself tonight. I'd love to continue talking to you. But get that meeting. And if you don't, the smart companies are building out communities for them. If they can't, I will. But a lot of our clients will say, we love the people you put us in front of. We love these conversations. Yeah, 60, 70% of the people that attend want to talk to us in a week, but they're not ready to buy. Drip campaigns not helping you. Nurture campaigns are the way of the dodo bird now. So we're building out communities where those prospects get to live with your content. They get to live with your subject matter experts. Again, nobody's pitching anything, no target on their back. They get to do all the tire kicking they want. And when they're ready to buy, now you're looking at a tool that can add a lot of nitrous into your sales cycle. Because they may not formally commit with you or even have a real conversation with you. And I see it all the time. They attend an event. They love the conversation, have a follow-up conversation. Everybody shaking hand, kissing babies. But I'm sorry, not sorry. We're not renewing for another 8 months. Now, you could drip them and email them for those 8 months and go from persistent to annoying, which I have a PhD in. Or you could put them in a nice, warm, fuzzy place that they can go to at their leisure. Nobody's dragging them there. They may get a notification. Oh, Bill's got something. Oh, wow. He was talking about that at the dinner. I remember. And now they're ready to buy. And all that work has been done. So second phone call isn't the 4-hour disco. It's not the 3-hour demo. It's the, hey, this is what we can spend. This is what we're going to need a statement to work to look like, or a POC, or whatever acronym of the moment is being used. Let's get this deal closed. And I think it's going to redefine the way people define their leads and stages. And I'm excited to see what happens there.
All right, I want to ask you some fun, some lighthearted questions here. I'm asking
These
everybody.
These were fun, lighthearted questions?
Listen, they're all, honestly, I'm a nerd for all of this, so it's really fun for me the whole time. But the first one of these is, you don't have to name names. What was the first job you ever had? It could be when you were a kid. It could be that one when you're 19. What was the first job you remember having?
Oh, first job I remember having, I was like 5. I worked at my dad's pizzerias.
You having a father who owns pizzerias is honestly
surprise anybody.
Yeah. Perfect. I don't want to say stereotypical, but that's amazing. What were you doing?
Italian boy from Brooklyn and moved to Jersey. He only moved to Jersey because he didn't want to. There was too much competition in Brooklyn for pizza.
What were you doing as a 5-year-old in the pizza shop?
So what was I doing? A lot of wiping tables. The old man would get me, be like, "Hey, can I have $5 for this or $10 for that?" And he had pizza ovens, and like the width of a pizza oven is like that. Back in the day, they used to close stores on Sundays. So Sunday afternoon, he would bring me in because I was the only thing thin enough to fit into the oven to get the corners out.
Oh, man. Okay.
And the worst part is I'm cursing him out, but he can hear me because the oven echoes. Which stupid ass just wanted $5 for a comic book.
Before I get to the rest of these, I can't not ask, what's the best pizza in the 5 boroughs? Like, where would you go, or where would you tell someone to go if you were getting pizza?
Straight out pie, like you're used to seeing everywhere. Joey's on either 6th Avenue in the Village, or there's one in Brooklyn. If you ever see the Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker Spider-Mans, it's the pizzeria he works at. But I mean, you can easily do 15, 20 pizzeria. It depends on what you want. If you like thick, deep, like a deep crust, there's Prince Street Pizza and they make something called a spicy Sicilian. So it's a Sicilian spice, spicy as all hell, and has fresh chunks of pepperoni on it. So if you're, looking for a healthy lifestyle and smart eating, that's the place to go.
I will say, Joe's, my wife and I we've been in New York a bunch, but we were there in December, and Joe's, and then there's a place around the corner, like Lion Industry. I think it's in the Village as well. It's like a couple streets away from the original Joe's. It's also pretty good. But yeah, I want to ask you a bunch more pizza questions, but I won't. I'll be respectful.
It's fine. We still got 28 minutes. We got a lot.
What's the worst job you've ever had? And you can't say cleaning out a pizza oven.
Oh man. The worst job I ever had was during my retirement phase. My brother's like, "You're very charismatic. Let's start a restaurant." So I'm black sheep. I'm the only person in my family that's not a chef, that doesn't own a restaurant. So he's like, "Come in. You'd be great with people." And, I did some waitering for my family when I was growing up. So it was nothing new to me. It was a nightmare because I tell sales leaders all the time, or CEOs, give me 30 days. I'm going to know as much about your company and can talk as well about your company and industry that you can. I am a one-trick pony. That is my trick. And I can't tell you how many CEOs that pip, "Oh, that's never going to happen. You don't understand the intricacies of AI cybersecurity and yada, 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 and gibberish glibbity glub." And then before you know it, we're sitting there having a conversation around all of that stuff. My point being, I caught on to the finer aspects of being a chef because I'd spent my entire life doing it. So he'd hate that I'd come up with dishes in his own place. Plus, we were the American choppers of restaurants. So there's me in the front. "No, sir, I'm terribly sorry. There's a 45-minute wait, sir." And in the background, my brother's like, "You tell that son of a bitch he wants it fast. He can go to Burger King. Get the hell out of my restaurant." "Sorry, sir, he's not talking to you." "I'm talking to him."
So needless to say, that wasn't a
nightmare. It was a nightmare. We would end up I think people came. Yeah, the food was insane. It was a very small shop. I talked him into, years before it became a fad, farm to table. I was like, "We're 5 minutes from all of these amazing farms. So instead of being beholden to a menu, let's just be beholden to the farmer. They tell us what's coming, and that's what we make. And as they say in Italian, chi su gas. This is what I'm making you. Either take this or go home." And I like that because it gave it a sense of exclusivity. My brother was used to pizzerias where it's a mindless guy. "Can I have a pizza with pepperoni?" instead of somebody that's coming in with a refined taste? God forbid you questioned anything. So that's why I made it this is what's on the menu tonight, folks. If you don't like it, there's a pizzeria down the street. There's a Chinese spot across the street. But please get the hell out before he hears you.
Oh my God, that's incredible. So no restaurants in the future for you then, Joe?
I don't know, because sometimes it does call to me. I love that social aspect of it. And for a while, I used that to do restaurant consulting. So out east in Long Island, the Hamptons, all these hoity-toity spots, I had a hankering for it because I call myself a pipeline whisperer today, but 10 years ago, I would have called myself a chef whisperer because I knew how to get through their ego, their pride, their drug addiction, their ego, and I think I said ego once or twice, but their ego, to help them, take full advantage of the artists that they were. What I didn't like is the bleep that goes with running fine dining establishments with people with very particular tastes and very large wallets. You're thanking them for their patronage, and at the same time, you're hoping that they, fall into the fire pit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Getting back to it from a work standpoint, do you have a favorite app or tool for productivity? Is there something that you use to kind of keep you on track day in and day out?
I hate to say it because it's going to make me sound like Grandpa Time. My greatest app for productivity is Google Calendar. I schedule every minute because the only thing worse than my short-term memory is my short-term memory. I get the reminders of it. I can see it in one spot. It deals with the fact that even though I consider myself Gen X, I'm probably boomer, at least in the way that I act and what everybody around me will tell you. I can just see everything there. I've always been a very simple, stupid salesperson. I still prefer living out of spreadsheets over any CRM any day of the week, regardless of the bells and whistles. Because like your organization, I am human centric. I did sales when I had a stack of index cards. My CRM was a filing cabinet. My database was a rotary phone. Rolodexes ruled the day. And when that happened, I had a series of notebooks in front of me. Notebooks for, I still do. Who am I talking? Notebooks for client meetings.
Listen, right there with you,
Notebook
man.
for internal
you.
meetings. Notebook for LinkedIn. And my manifesto about how much I hate marketers and salespeople that don't work together. I had another post on it today because I felt yesterday. I looked at my post yesterday. I was like, okay, I'm just another a talking head on LinkedIn because I saw 18 posts and they were like, just communicate with marketing. That's all you need to do. I tried to give some suggestions today, but I think each of my posts sounds angrier and more old manish than the next. My son wants to record a series of videos in black and white where I'm sitting in a rocking chair pontificating on sales stuff from the 90s.
Listen, I get it. Somebody sent me a DM the other day. It was like, man, you are spicy lately. Cause I'm just the same. I feel like I'm getting like angry. The more online I am, the angrier I am at every single idea I see. And I'm like, that's not going to work. Don't do that. That's stupid. So I feel like there's a place for grumpier old men, the LinkedIn post. It's kind of like the old movie. I think it's okay.
That's where I'd like to go with that. Just do some grumpy old man posts.
Yeah. Speaking of calendar, do you have an ideal work day? Like, what's the best case scenario for you for a day that you feel most productive and happiest?
This probably comes from a military background. My day starts early. And because of mental health issues that can bubble up, I need to be up early. I need to be disciplined and I need to be structured. So I'm up and at them probably every morning before 4:30 a.m. I'll do the same ice shower. I'll do the same run or at the very least, a very fast walk, screaming at the people that don't that aren't stopping at the stop signs on my corner, even though because it's 4:00 in the morning. And then again, I depend on that Google Calendar to show me everything that I'm doing through the day, from personal writing and breathing to manifestations and meditations to the time I'm going to spend on LinkedIn to the time I spend with volunteer work. And by that, I mean, I did a post on it earlier, but I'm beginning to feel like my best place in the world is as a therapist for sales and marketers. The first facilitator, I want to call it, where you need to get together, you need to have conversations, but you guys don't even know what to talk about or how to get started. So let's spend 30 minutes. I'm going to throw 3 ideas out at you. If you can't put together an aligned program in 30 days, one of you needs to lose your job. And it's not a silly, condescending, jerky remark. It's true. Because if you can't communicate with your colleagues as a marketer or as a salesperson, how can you be relied upon to effectively sell a value prop to a total stranger? No one cares if you live or die. They care if the client or the prospect lives or die. We're expendable. Most clients are not. They'll work to keep a client where they may or may not work to keep you.
Yeah. Okay. I got one more question for you. As a person with so much sales experience, if someone were to pick up the phone and cold call you, what is an opener that would at least get you to hear their pitch? Like, what's the type of cold call that you would hear the rep out on?
Be honest with me. Hey, Joe, I'm calling you. I saw what you did. So looking at this, come correct. Like, come with your knowledge. Know why you're calling me. If you come educated, if you come correct like that, I will hear you out. I leave like that booked appointment open on LinkedIn because I'll listen to anybody pitch me if they're pitching me from a place of I want to learn or I really think you're a match and here's why. Most of the times you're not. We'll spend the time slicing and dicing why you're not. But for the most part, I'll hear you out. Just come correct. And if you come with your short and curlies between your fingers, then I'm going to have a field day with you. More often than not, I will start to treat it like a sales coaching call. And if you're going to come that misprepared, you're telling me you don't care about your job. You're telling me that for every hour I've invested in you. You have invested zero in yourself, which means you are a bad investment. And I sell bad investments. And I tell that to salespeople their first day. For every 10 minutes you're willing to invest in yourself, I'm willing to invest an hour back in you.
Yeah. Do the work.
You can't beat that investment.
Yeah.
Because you will pay returns from how you carry yourself to the mindset you bring to the table, to how you prepare, to how you deal with success, to how you deal with adversity, and most importantly, how you deal with your colleagues. Salespeople, they are the straw that stirs the drink. I hate to say it. Maybe the only thing closer are customer experience and customer success teams, the people that actually have to deliver the solution. And if you can't communicate, and if you don't know how to bridge those gaps, be aligned with all of these respective teams, you don't deserve to be there. Not in this market when there's so many people that are looking to feed their families. And the only reason they lost their job was because their CEO didn't want to justify their poor decision making by keeping the 30% of the workforce that they should have never have hired in the first place.
Yeah, I love that. All right, Joe, I'll put your LinkedIn and people can find you in the show notes. But is there anything else you want people to know about your company? Anything that you want them to check out before we sign off here? What's something people should know about?
I build pipeline. I call myself a pipeline whisperer for a number of different reasons. Yeah, I can put you in rooms with your prospects, but I can also help you better ascertain why you need to be aligned with your colleagues, how to get aligned, and all of the fun stuff in between. So I'm always down to clown. I'm a big believer in paying it forward. So if you are facing any of these issues and don't have the money for a high-priced consultant, this is not one of those cases where you get where you pay for. I'm doing this as my penance for those guys when I was 19 and 20 that I didn't know how to manage and treated like dogs with fleas. I know the people that I've wronged as a sales leader, and I do these things now because I grew up in Catholic schools. I've got all the guilt that goes with it. Now I've got to make up for it. And I feel one of the best ways to do that is to have these real-time conversations. Hi, Joe. I'm Janice. This is my sales colleague, Bill. And Bill should be shot in the face because he's a cloud who doesn't listen to anybody. Bill, what do you have to add there?
Oh, man, that's amazing. Joe, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for joining me today.
The pleasure's all mine. I really, really appreciate this. Thank you so much.